Hey, what's up, guys? So May's half over. Yay, and kind of not yay, because means life changes are closer. Oh well, I'll get to that later. Anyways, May's half over. The One Read-a-thon wrapped up on the 12th, which was Saturday, and I did a TBR video for that readathon, I think like a day or two after it started. So I want to say I put that up on like the 1st. There were 4 books that I had planned on reading for that readathon, and they were Wolves of the Kala, My Neighbor Totoro, Magic's Pawn, and The 100,000 Kingdoms. And those 4 books encompassed all 8 challenges for that readathon. Real quick, I'll go back over those challenges for you guys. There were 8 challenges, and they were to read a fantasy book by a person of color author, read a fantasy book with a person of color main character, read a fantasy book under 300 pages, a fantasy book over 1,000 pages, a standalone fantasy, a fantasy with a non-English speaking author, or a fantasy book that was translated from its original language, a fantasy book set in a non-European setting, and a fantasy book with LGBTQ plus representation. And I finished 3 of the 4 books, so I'm pretty proud of myself, because that's a lot to read in 2 weeks for me, with just how much I'm out and about, and my schedule and my husband's schedule, and it's a lot for me to finish in 2 weeks, 3 books, especially one of them being over 1,000 pages. So anyways, this that I finished were Wolves of the Kala. I finally got a physical copy of this book that matches the ones that I want and the ones that I had. Yay. And this one covered the over 1,000 pages, and it could also have covered a person of color main character. This book said this edition was, on Goodreads, this edition is 1,046 pages, I believe, if I remember correctly. I want to say that's what it was, 1,046 pages. So I finished that one. I finished that one the last day of the readathon, actually. Mercedes, Magic's Pawn by Mercedes Lackey, I did not finish. I was looking forward to reading this one, and I got maybe about 30 pages in. And the very first page caught my eye right off the bat, because it was like this really dramatic freak out excerpt, I'm assuming from later in the book. But then I started reading it, and it was a lot of family drama, and I really wasn't in the mood for family drama in a book, so I kind of put that one aside and focused more on the 100,000 Kingdoms, and I'll get to that one in a minute. The next one in the pile is My Neighbor Totoro. This one covered 6 of the challenges, which was really awesome. This one was under 300 pages. The author is Japanese. It was translated from Japanese. The main character was Japanese. So that covers under 300 pages, person of color author, person of color character, non-European setting. What were the other 2? I can't remember. Oh, standalone, and the last one just completely escapes me, but I know this one covered 6. And this one was freaking adorable. Like, it's about Satsuki and her sister May, and they move from Tokyo to this farming town in Japan to be closer to the hospital that their mom is staying at. Their mom has been in the hospital for a year almost with TB, and she's starting to get better, and she's really close to coming home, so they're both really excited. And when they move into their new house, they meet the forest spirit Totoro, and it's just really cute. And if you know Studio Ghibli, you know Totoro, because Totoro is their logo. And just if you haven't seen the movie, you need to see the movie. Like, my first watch of the movie was right after I finished the book, and it's adorable. It's just really, it's just one of those really cute, lighthearted, fun reads. And like I said, it's under 300 pages. The font in these pages is really big for the pages, and there's like one illustration a chapter, which I didn't realize. And these illustrations are cute too, but I didn't realize it was illustrated until I had gotten into reading it. So yeah, this was a really quick, cute, fun read, and just a really nice way to lighten up the readathon. I gave this one 5 stars on Goodreads. I gave Wolves of the Calla 5 stars on Goodreads. And I will talk more about Wolves of the Calla after I finish the Dark Tower series and do a full series wrap-up of the Dark Tower books. So that is coming. I just don't know when, because I'm audiobooking and marathoning the audiobooks. So maybe I'm not going to make any promises. But yeah, I will talk more about Wolves of the Calla in the Dark Tower series wrap-up video I plan on doing in the near future. And then the last book that I did for the readathon was, and I only have the omnibus edition on Kindle, so that's all I'm going to show you guys. I read The 100,000 Kingdoms, which is the first book in the Inheritance trilogy, and the iPad makes the camera look really dark, so I'm just going to put that down. But it's about, I feel bad for possibly butchering her name. It's about this girl named Yain. I really hope I'm saying this right, because that's how I've been saying it in my head. And she gets a summons from her grandfather, who lives in basically the world capital. It's the capital of the 100,000 Kingdoms, called Sky. And the reason why she gets the summons is her grandfather is the High King. Probably got that term wrong. It's been a minute since I finished the book. I did enjoy it. It's been a minute though since I finished it. So her grandfather's like the High King. He's top of the food chain, and she is he's Arameri, and she is half Arameri. Her mother is Arameri, obviously, and her father was Dar, and that's where her color comes from. She's the main character, person of color. N.K. Jemisin is an author of color, and it is, I want to count that as a non-European setting because it's kind of not really Europeanized, but I guess it depends on your opinion on that. Anyways, she gets the summons to Sky to basically partake in the game of choosing the successor between her and her 2 cousins. And she meets, this was also LGBTQ representation, and she meets a bunch of the gods, and the 2 head gods were lovers for a long time. They're Atempus and Nahadath were brothers and lovers. That's what I got from it. And some of the gods are captive in Sky because of the Gods' War and the side that they were on in the Gods' War. They were on the losing side, so their penalty was to be trapped in human bodies and forced to basically be slaves to the Arameri. And the Sia is another of the gods that she meets, and Sia and Nahadath convince Yain to help free them. And that's as far as I'm going to go into it. I don't want to spoil anything. I've only read the first book in the Inheritance trilogy. I do plan on continuing that trilogy, just not right now. So anyways, those were the books that I read for the One Read-a-thon to rule them all. And then I have 3 books that I am currently reading now. The first book goes with the Dark Tower series, and I actually found out that I was supposed to read this book before I read Wolves of the Kala, but I didn't know that, so I read Wolves of the Kala first, and now I'm kind of backtracking to the fill-in novel between Wizard and Glass and Wolves of the Kala, which is Wind Through the Keyhole. I just started this Monday, so I'm not very far in, but I've been liking the Dark Tower books, really liking the Dark Tower books so far. Like I said, I'm marathoning the audiobooks, so I'm probably about, if I were reading the book, probably about 70 to 75 pages in, so I'm not very far. But I just cleared the first disc on the book. And like I said, I'm liking it so far. And it really is, it's not really, influential on the series from what I'm getting, but it's a nice little space filler between books 4 and 5, because there is a bit of a time gap. It's not much, but there is a small time gap in between those two books, and this kind of just fills the time gap, because the first 4 books basically happen one right after the other with no time break, and then there's a time break, and this fills the time break, which is really nice. And I like filling in the time breaks. Like, I don't just like what happened between this book and this book, and you're just left wondering. So that's why I'm backtracking now and reading this one, and I just started it on Monday, less than 80 pages in. I'm about 10% done with the audiobook. The next book I picked up on Friday, I put down on Friday. I actually picked it up Thursday and was going to marathon it. And I was going to marathon the books because I have all 4 books in the series. And The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Chima. I have all 4 Seven Realms books, so I got the idea in my head, I'm going to marathon all 4 books before I pack them. And I got about 200 pages in, and I almost DNF'd this book because of one of the main characters, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, and it's probably because this is a YA series and I'm reading it as an adult, but oh my god, I cannot stand Ryza. She, in my mind, she's that typical manipulative. She's very manipulative, and for those of you that have read the book, you'll understand where my impression of her being manipulative comes in when, after Aemon comes back and she decides that she wants to go out and he tells her no, and she basically threatens him and manipulates him into going with her. Yeah, that was the thing that tipped me over the edge with her. The thing that got me started with her was the fact that not only is she flirting with the High Mage's son, which is a big illegal no-no according to the naming, she also kind of starts to flirt with Aemon a little bit, and she's flirting with all of these other guys. I understand that she's Princess Heir and she has to flirt with all of these people, because they're trying to court her and trying to get her to like them enough to marry them. But you can at least have some standards. And it seems like she has absolutely no standards whatsoever. And now I started getting this feeling a good way into the book, because there's one male perspective and one female perspective. And I hate that feeling. I got that feeling that, okay, something's going to happen to bring these two together, and then they are going to hook up. So far, I'm half right, and I hate it. I hate that the stereotypical feeling in this book is right. If they get together, I may just DNF the series, because I don't know what I'm going to do. Because I just can't stand her, and I really like Han. I really do. He doesn't try to find problems and create problems for himself. He's trying to fix his problems and get away from his problems and not create more problems for himself in trying to fix the problems he has. And Riza's the complete opposite, and I hate her. If I'm wrong about this, and I should continue reading the series even if they do get together, even if they don't get together, please tell me in the comments if they don't. I will not be upset about being spoiled for that, because I really don't want that to happen. But if they do, and that shouldn't be the deciding factor in me DNFing this series, convince me. Because if they get together, I may just DNF this whole series. I am going to still give her other series a try, the Air Chronicles and the Shattered Realms trilogy. I'm still going to give those a try. But if Han and Riza get together, convince me not to DNF this series, because I'd like to like it. I know it's popular, and this is just probably going to be an unpopular opinion thing, but I hate when I can predict what's going to happen in a book or in a series. So convince me, please. If my assumptions are correct, convince me not to DNF this series, because I'm like busting through it. I really only had it in my hands for a total of probably 12 hours, and I've read that much. I know that's slow, but anyways, convince me. If my assumptions are right, then convince me not to DNF this series, because I'd like to give the other books a shot, but I hate predictable books. I'm going to get off that train. I'm going to get off that rant train, and I'm going to go to my last book that I'm currently reading right now. Second to last. By John Gwynne. I picked this up because Demon King was pissing me off, and I needed something else to read. And I'm 110 pages in? 110 pages in. And I'm really liking it. This has been going around. The first place I heard about this was on Kitty G's channel. It was in her top 10 fantasy series 2016 video. And I only have the first 2 books right now, and I'm kind of taking my time on this because it is a lot. It is a multi-perspective fantasy, and not only is the book itself big, but it's a chunky book. Like, see, I'm right there, and that's the front. So I'm like far in. But I am really liking it so far. Like, I like that the chapters for the different characters, there's not really a whole lot of lag time between the characters. Like, it doesn't jump to like a week later between chapters for these characters. It basically, each chapter for each character picks up where the last one left off, even though you've been bouncing around between characters. And I really do like that. I marked the halfway point too, so that way I can tell how close I'm getting to halfway. But yeah, I'm really liking this one. I'm looking for the other 2 books, Ruin and Wrath. I haven't found them yet, but as soon as I do, I'm going to hammer down hard on these books. That's part of why I'm taking my time, because I don't have the last 2 books, and I want them. I will find them eventually, though, and then I'm going to hammer down on this series, and I'm going to finish it, and it is going to be amazing. But until then, I'm just going to take my time on that. This video went a lot longer than I was hoping it would, but I got on the Riza rant, and I'm sorry about that. If you hate me now, just wait. Convince me that I'm wrong, please, on the whole Riza thing. But I'm going to get off of that again, because otherwise I'm just going to go into another 20-minute rant about how much I hate her. And I'm going to wrap this video up and hopefully have... Oh, no, I'll talk about that one again later in my end of the month wrap-up, because I forgot about it in my May TBR, too. I'm reading Firestarter. I'm audiobooking Firestarter for the Stephen King book club that I'm in. And I'm liking it so far. It's okay. I'm liking it more than The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. That's all I'm going to say. It's not like one of those Stephen King books that I'm like, I have to finish it now. But I am liking it. I might try to find the movie, because I've heard this is a movie too. So I might try to find the movie to watch after I finish the book. We'll see. Anyways, that is it for my One Read-a-thon wrap-up and mid-month check-in. I will see you guys later with another video. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we'll figure that out when that time comes. Bye!